Hi, my name is Claudia Quintanilla. Welcome to the third episode of our Knit Along. I'm a knitwear designer based in Toronto, and we're working in making a t-shirt with stripes and short rods. Today, we're going to be talking about 4 interesting things. Number 1, we're going to be talking about the stripes. And then we're going to move to our t-shirt, and we're going to see the most exciting part when you're making a t-shirt or you're making a sweater, and it's when you separate the body from the sleeves. So I'm going to show you how to do that. After that, I'm going to show you how to cast few stitches in your underarm. After that, we're going to be picking up the stitches to make your first sleeve. And then I'm going to be showing you a bit of the decoration that I produced on the end of the sleeve. And during the video, you're going to be seeing how I try to hide my stitches, because when you have stripes, sometimes there's a little ladder there. So I think the technique is called jogging or something like that. Probably I'm not saying it well, but Rob, please correct it there. So, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. I'm really happy to be here and happy to have you here again. Stripes weren't always that popular. In the Middle Ages, stripes were used for people to be designated as no very good people in society, although I don't know if they were good or not, but the stripes were used to distinct people who were in prison, to distinct people who were clowns and things like that. But after 1853, the Marines in France, they adopted like their uniform and became like a very popular t-shirt. And then much after that, Chanel popularized them in the high fashion. So since then, stripes are a big part of fashion shows, and they come on and they go, but they come back all the time. Today, I want to show you a little bit in my patterns how stripes can change the look of a shirt, even if the pattern is exactly the same. And there is like an idea for all of you. If you have a pattern of a sweater that you really like, or a pattern of a top that you really like, you can always make different stripes in this pattern, because it's gonna look like almost a different top or a different sweater. So, and to do that, I brought my new top, and this is the same top that we all do in the striped t-shirt. And I just use different ways of striping and use really light colors to make it look like more soft. And what I did is I used a little bit of darker color for 2 stripes, and then the another 4 stripes, I did it with a more lighter color. So this is what I got as a result. It's very different than the ones that I'm doing here that I'm going to show you too. I make kind of like a little mistake by putting a ribbon here, but that's something that I'm going to talk to you in another opportunity, because I want to show you in one of these videos how to remove it. But that is going to be probably in one of the last videos, because if it's a mistake in your neck, if it's a mistake in the top, I know the way we can fix it. And I want to make sure that you know too how you can fix that without undoing your whole t-shirt. But that is another topic. And to show you a little bit about the stripes too, I did our example, the one I'm knitting for the knit along, in different ways. This one is our white, is way bigger than our brown stripe. Not it's 10 rods here and it's 6 rods here, and I think this is the one that the majority of you are doing. But I went and I did another one, because to demonstrate things here I need more than one. I did one where the stripes are exactly the same. So I think if your stripe is big and in a very dark color and a white color, your stripe look really bold. And if your stripe is really thin, your stripe can make your pattern to look really delicate and nice. Like for example, in this case, where I use mohair, my stripe look really thin and look really dainty and look really less bold than something like this. And I think somehow, although the colors are different, they blend better than these 2 colors. I know they look nice, but this one, it blends more, making it more romantic, more softer, and maybe like easy to wear in the days that you don't want to be very bold. And here I brought you another example of stripes, and here I have my very last design that I made for this knit along, in case you don't want to do this one, because you already did it. So I brought this one that I just finished, and this one you cannot necessarily use exactly the same pattern because some changes happening because we add this little lace in the edge. But as you see, the stripe here is so different that it's almost make it look like a totally different style of top, but it's the same style of top, just with different stripes and a bit of lace in the bottom. So I think this stripe is very classic and it's very sporty looking. And I want to show you something that I find really interesting when we combine different types of stripes. So you can go combining stripes and they're thicker with stripes and they're thinner. And I think that is all another look in stripes. But the one that I'm more interested to show you right now is the one that I have here, and it's in a baby sweater. Because I think stripes can happen with colors, but they can happen with texture too. You can stripe just in the same color, like let's say your sweater is all beautiful and beige, and your stripes can be just texture, and that would give a very cool effect. I don't have any example here where I'm filming, but I brought this one, and this one I have a bit of texture and a bit of stripes of different colors. So I find that another way to striping that is really exciting. And one of the things that I really like about the striping is that it allowed me to play with colors. And that is something that made me very happy because sometimes I love color work because I want to be using colors. But when I'm striping, I can use colors without suffering so much because color work is way more work. During stripes, it's a bit less work, and still you can use a number of different colors and have that fun moment where you're playing with all your colors. You can stripe every stripe in different colors with all your leftovers. That is a cool thing to do. And then you can have things where you just go and make the decision to have two little stripes and gold meaning something. Because if you're going to wear something in gold, you probably don't want so much of it. You want like a little detail with that gold. So this is an example of that. I just put like drop and stripe of gold to make it look more rich, more like gold. I really like gold, so I like my gold stripe in here. And stripes give us, the knitters, the opportunity to use our imagination because none of our stripes will be the same. Everybody gonna choose different colors, maybe different numbers of rods for different colors, or maybe they're going to use a transparent yarn in one of the stripes. Or like, let me example it better. I think I have one good example here. This is one of my oldest patterns. It's called Clara. And what I did in here is I did stripes, and what I did is use mohair, and the mohair in between is just single, but the mohair that is in gray is with double mohair. So you can create some type of transparency in your stripes by using one of the stripes in like double mohair and one of the stripes just in single mohair. That way you will have in a very beautiful transparency there. I think I have a very good example in one t-shirt that I make that I'm going to try to remember the name, but I do have problems with that. I think it's called Clarice, and I'm going to ask my editor to put a photo here that you can see how beautiful that transparency look in a stripe. I would really like to see how your stripes are going. Which colors did you choose for your stripes? Please post them in Ravelry or in Instagram, then we can see how you're striping your t-shirt. I'm really curious, and let's share the way we color our stripes. So we arrive to the most interesting part of the knitting, and it's when you divide the front, back, and your sleeves. So in this point, is you start to see the shape of your sweater. You start to get excited because it starts to look like it's going to look. In the last episode, I showed you that I tried this on, and the most important thing to notice in that moment is if the yoke that you have created can pinch one side to the other side in here, then you have enough space for your arm. If you want, if it's too tight, if you want it a little bit bigger in here, you can keep knitting a couple of rows more to get to the point where you feel really comfortable. Okay, what we're going to be doing now is we're going to be putting these things in hole with a little thread. because this is going to be our sleeves. It's where the shoulders used to be, but now I'm going to need from my BO marker or mi start del marker, my BO marker, I'm going to need all the way to the first marker for increasing for my raglan. So when I get there, I'm going to put these stitches in a hole, then I can go back to knit them after. But now let me get there. I'm going to get there and get rid of the marker. And now I'm going to put the stitches from here to here in a piece of yarn. I like to do it with yarn. I don't like those barber cords or plastic cords because sometimes they come out and that made me very nervous. And plus that, I think I have enough plastic in my life. Oop. Make this long enough because then you can try your t-shirt more comfortable. How is it looking, Nina?
It looks good.
So if you make this long enough, when you're trying it, it's going to be very comfortable for you to see how it's fitting you. So you just have to be patient and go one by one, putting it inside the thread, inside the needle, then get through the thread, and just make sure that these ones don't fall down. I have very bad experience with the barber cords. I have like 200 stitches and they're all like came out, and more than one time may have happened. So I went back to my original way, to the way that I was stitched, and I just using leftover yarn. I feel that's more gentle to the environment. Okay. Now I go to my next marker. I'm gonna remove the marker. I don't need it anymore. And I'm going to do the then escape, and I'm gonna cash then. And now I'm just going to leave my thread go in. Make sure that you don't pull the whole thing because then you're gonna end it with the stitches in the air. So just pull one nicely here and make sure that you tie it really well here and tie it, but tie it a bit loose, then you can feed, then you can try to feed it and see how it's gonna look. I like to do few knots because cotton is a bit disobedient. And then, so now I have my sleeve here. Now that we have divided our body from the sleeves, we're going to be casting on few stitches in the underarm. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cast on the number of stitches that the pattern asked me for it. So in my case, I'm going to be casting the ones that my pattern asked me, just with this like very simple way of casting on. I'm gonna do a few extra and you see how I do. I just create a loop, go inside the loop, and then pull it in. So don't pay attention to how many I cast on because it's going to depend on your size. So now I'm just gonna continue knitting until I get to the next one. Or just make sure that this is straight, hold on. This is straight up here. My stitches are straight and nice. And I'm just gonna keep knitting to the next marker and I'm gonna do exactly the same thing. So get rid of the marker, you don't need that marker. And let's get our thread, cut it generously, and we're going to put our stitches on a thread in the old way, not using a plastic thing because we love the environment. Okay, now I have done my second sleeve. Just gonna knot this really well because we don't want it to come out. And cotton is notorious because sometimes unravel. So here. So now I gotta do my extra stitches. Don't worry about these numbers because they don't have to be the same numbers. It's depend of your size. And now I just going to keep knitting my round like normal. But in the next round, I'm going to change the beginning of the row to the middle of these stitches that I cast on here because it's going to look nicer to do the changes of colors in there. So, but now I'm just going to keep knitting to get there and to make this to go together, to join them together. We're moving the marker to the center of the underarm because that way, if it's a little bit of ladder in our stripes, it's better in there than we cannot see it. Don't pay attention to the number of stitches that I cast on for me because it's a bit different. But now I'm going to take the marker and the beginning of my row will be in the middle of where I cast on my extra stitches in the underarm. Let's say I cast 6 stitches, I'm going to just, I have to pull this a bit here after. Let's say I have to fix this, but this is for me to fix after. So let's say I did 3 here and I did 3 here. I'm going to put my marker here and then I can keep knitting. And that became now my BO marker because I wanted to be, sorry, I didn't, I have to just put it back. I don't have to re-knit it, I already have knitted it. So I just putting it back and I just continue knitting, and as you see, my marker changed place. So my marker was here before and I changed it to the center of the extra stitches that I cast on in the underarm. Why? Because I want my lines to be hidden a bit in case it's something no good there. And in general, this is a good rule to move the marker in the underarm, and it's give you a nice end to your top because it's pretty high whatever you did in there. I'm going to be needing few rods, maybe like 6 or 7 rods, then I can get to the point where I can show you how I pick up the stitches for the sleeve. Now I'm going to pick up these stitches that I have put in hold. I'm going to first pick up the stitches and then I'm going to need a marker to have the center of where I started my sleeve. So I'm going to cut this here and I'm going to start to pick up the stitches and then fix the direction if I need to it, but just like gently go all the way and take the thread out, then this doesn't get too bulky. So this is the last one, and that's it. So now I have all my stitches in the needle. And what I'm going to do is to pick up some of these stitches here. I don't know which number you have to pick up, but I'm going to start to pick up then in the middle. Let's say that I have 6 in here, so I'm gonna count them 2, 4, 6. So those I'm gonna leave it in the middle and just start to pick them up in the middle with the thread that I have to complete this row. I have 1, 2, 3, 4. So I need to do 2 rows more with this brown color. So I have to grab my brown color to continue to do this. And now we're going to start with the brown and we're going to pick up the stitches fully here. Put my thread here, fold it a bit in here. These are long sleeves, I really have to. So I'm gonna pick up the thread here, and to start with the thread I just simply do this. I'm just going to pick up 1. Here I go. And I don't want to. Three. And I think I have one extra here. And here, with the stitches and the size, I'm going to pick up an extra stitch that I don't really need. And the reason why I'm going to pick it up is to avoid to create a hole in here. So I'm going to go on the side and pick up that stitch to the best of my abilities in a way that is make this look flawless. And it's there. And if this stitch bother me later, I'm going to just knit it together with another stitch. Then it disappears. And so the hole here will be a bit better. So now I'm going to keep knitting to get to the next side of my sleeve. Okay, now I get into the last stitch and I have to pick up my another 4 stitches here. And I go, but first I'm going to see if there's anything in the side here. I'm going to take one in the side to avoid holes here. And what I do is I try to make it as invisible as is possible. So I like to take more than, I like to take it in a way that is going to not create more holes than I already making, no? So I'm going to take it that way here. And I know it's not going to be, this is not official the way you do things. You have to kind of look and see how you're going to create less holes. So it's not like a formula to it. It's mostly like you looking and seeing how you can make it better. So I have got here and I'm going to use my marker and I'm going to keep knitting my stripes just around and until I get to the point where I create that extra stitch. And if I want to get rid of that stitch extra that I create and I took from the side here, this one, it's this one and this one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to knit them together. That way I don't have an extra stitch and I have a void to make a hole. It's always a little bit of a hole there and sometimes I go back and what I do is just sew it. And it looks good, but I mean to do this it will help a lot to create a more nice look. So I'm getting to the point where I did my extra stitch here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to SSK them together or knit them together. Let's see how they look. I always go by the way things look, not by a formula. In these things, it's mostly about how things look. And I think this SK worked fine here, worked beautifully. So I'm just gonna keep knitting to the end and I have to do a change of color because I can't take my stripes from here, not from here. From here they're going to be smaller, but now I'm going to do a change of yarn and because the stripes are really long here, I'm actually going to cut it. During my knitting, I'm going to be showing how to do your stripes in a way that they don't have too much lather. I don't remember the term, it's jogless. And I don't know if that's the right way to pronounce it, but we're going to leave the name in here, then you can read it and do more research if you like. I do it in a very simple way and it's never fully perfect. I'm just going to start to knit simply with the another color. Nothing fancy here, you just start knitting with the another color. And in the next row, I'm going to show you what you can do to avoid that little ladder that we create with the changes of yarn. So in the next slide, I'm going to show you how to avoid to create a ladder. And it's a name for this technique, and it's going to be not here for you, jogless, I think. If this bothers you, just pull it and I'm going to tell you the reason why I don't weave these ends at the same time. I don't weave them in, I'm just going to make a little knot here because if you weave them in, it's no way to produce changes after. It's way more work to change things. So I rather weave all my ends in the end. So now I'm going to slip my marker And because I want to make this transition the smoothest I can, I'm going to put this stitch, and this one is going to be difficult because it was the first one, back here, and I'm going to knit them together. And this is a little fluffy because, again, that is a way of making a good transition for the stripes. In the last, I'm going to be showing you how I produce this beautiful but very, very simple texture in the sleeve. In this one, you have to yarn over, knit two, and pass the yarn over the two. This is going to be difficult because here I have done another things here, and now we're going to knit two, do a yarn over, and pass two over. It's a very simple stitch and it's look really nice. So we need to yarn over and pass the yarn over the two stitches and we knit. And we keep going like that, knit two, yarn over, knit two, okay, I have get to the end of the first line. So what I'm going to do in the beginning of the next row, because the pattern is just two rows, in these ones I'm going to knit, simply knit, and actually, I'm sorry, in the beginning of this row I'm just going to keep knitting the whole row. And in the third row I have to repeat the same thing, but starting after the first two. So this is my second row, I'm just knitting. So I done the knitting row that I did after the wrapping of the stitch. Now is my third row, and what I'm going to do in the third row, because I have wrapped the first two, I'm just going to knit the first two, and I'm going to wrap the next ones with my yarn over. So yarn over is over there, and then I'm just going to wrap it over here in a way that they look staggered. Staggered? Mm-hmm. So they're going to look like nicely and staggered. Let me show you the idea, and if you see the idea, you will understand it more clear. So that would be my third row where they start to stagger a bit. So if you see here, they're all staggering. So that's why first row, yarn over, second row, just knitting, third row, you do your yarn overs and the two stitches after the beginning, because you want them to look in this way. So in the next episode, I want to get to the bottom and I want to do the short rows, and you're going to knit in the bottom part, and I'm going to repeat the part of the texture, and I'm going to probably be casting on the bottom than the people who are going faster that can use this video in case they have any questions. I have a homework to prep your next episode, number 4, and you have a homework. I need to see how that stripes that you're doing look. I want to see which colors, I want to see if you're using different texture, I want to see which yarns you use. So please leave us a comment, tell us what you're doing, post it in Ravelry, and the ones that they're already finished this t-shirt, because I know some people go really quick, and some of my followers that already been doing this t-shirt many times. So don't forget that we have this one for you. It's very cute. See, this one is very short because I thought that I was going to run out of yarn, but it's in Ravelry, and I'm going to leave a very good discount code here of 40% because I know you already got the stripe tee. So nice to see all of you. Thanks for following me. Please don't forget to leave me a comment, leave me a like, and show me your stripes.